Hello and welcome to another episode of Tech About Town, brought to you by Communitech. I'm Alex Kinsella.
And I'm Sarah McFarland.
Today in the studio, we have Eric Avner, President and CEO of the Waterloo Region Community Foundation. Welcome to the studio.
I am so glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, got coffee.
I got coffee. It's sunny outside. It's a good day.
But yeah.
Today's the first, I feel like, crisp morning that I've experienced this fall.
Every building I've been in today, heat's been turned on for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
It's a moment.
Do you know where the heat's not turned on? My house. It's a little freezing.
There's a friend of mine who used to have a competition with his wife to see how long he could keep the heat off. And he would they went into late November one year. That. It was brutal. You go over there to visit and you'd have to wear 3 layers of clothes.
I'm a big fan of heat.
Same.
You have these amenities. You might as well use them.
Why not enjoy it?
Yeah.
We have you in the studio today because we're going to talk about something that impacts founders and tech leaders and anybody who's working in a business, trust and connection. So when we talk about trust and connection in terms of founders, a lot of times that is if you are in sales, you need to have trust and connection to make sales. If you're trying to raise, you need to have trust and connection with investors in order to raise.
Yeah.
You need to have trust and connection with your employees if you want them to build the things that are going to get sales and then also help you raise. So trust and connection is super important.
Every single thing we do relies on trust and connection. The economy relies on trust and connection. Democracy relies on trust and connection. Health, education, anything, almost anything relies on trust and connection. And if we don't, that's part of our drive right now at the foundation is how are we really encouraging more building of trust and connection in this community? And it's one of those sort of, I don't want to say it's not punny, but it's one of these foundational investments in the community. If we can't build trust and connection between people in this community, we're not going to get to some of these bigger issues that we need to face in this community.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know a lot about the Waterloo Region Community Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that is and how you're working towards those goals?
You are not alone. It's there's people who know us and people who don't. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. We've been around. Technically, the Waterloo Region Community Foundation is only 3 years old because we were the result of a merger unification between the Cambridge North Dumfries Community Foundation and the Kitchener Waterloo Community Foundation. There's 207 community foundations across the country, and we're all basically the same, but everybody's a little bit different. So it's essentially a community trust. People over years decide they want to pay it forward or pay back the community or invest in the future of the community. And they invest in this community trust, basically, that we manage. We invest, and then the earnings from that trust get given back out to the community in grants. So we do that as a big community fund, as well as companies, individuals, families set up funds within us that we manage and collaborate. We bring them together, manage those, invest those, and put those back out in grants too. So there's about 420 funds that we manage, as well as the community fund. And last year, for example, we did about $7.5 million in grants to about 420 different organizations across the region. But that's a piece of what we do. Mm-hmm. We do this granting, and then we also do a fair bit of convening. So we'll bring in speakers to talk about topics. We'll do research on topics in the community. We just released a report called Vital Signs, which is one example. We'll do different types of setting tables because we're one of these organizations, one of these institutions that is built for multiple generations. We're not built for one election cycle or one economic cycle. We're built for the long term of the future of the community. So we have there's a trust that's been built with us, and so we have a pretty good idea what's going on in the community, but also some resources to deal with it.
Very cool.
So I don't know if that helps, but it's you can set up a fund with us. You can come one of our programs. You can look at our research. You can just come to us for information. Look to us for information about what's happening in the community. We're the community's resource, the community's community foundation.
Yeah. The funds are interesting too because there's some that depending on where you are in your life and where you live within Waterloo Region, what your network is, you'll know different funds. So for me, I know ToastyToes.
We manage that fund. Yep.
Right.
Yes.
And that used to be just a stock drive. It was an amazing project that transitioned into a fund, the Essentials Fund.
We've helped them in Essentials Fund. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The Essential Fund is a cool one because basically they raise money for this fund, And then for charities that need, like they can't use their funding for essentials. That could be like hygiene products or socks or whatever. They can't use their primary money for it, but they can make a grant request. That's the way you're going to say it, grant request, a request?
No, I mean, well, I think,
whatever it is.
I mean, the bottom line of what we do is trying to make it easier for people to do more good.
Yeah.
And so if you want to do good in the community, we can be a partner in that, whether that's setting up your own fund or matching up with an existing fund or matching up with charities that do the type of work that you're really passionate about, connect you with people who can help you with volunteer efforts. Anything that, if you want to do good in this community, we can be helpful in that respect.
I always kind of describe it as being sustainable, which maybe is not the right way, because the way I look at it, like let's say I won the lottery, because I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to sell a company. Let's say I won the lottery and I had like $1 million. I could create a fund with $1 million, and then it's just the investments of that get doled out.
I mean, you can create a fund for $5,000.
$5,000,
right?
yeah.
So it's not like you have to be a millionaire to do this stuff.
No.
But
I was just thinking. I was thinking big.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, you can set up $1 million fund with that. It's fine. Now, the interesting thing is that all those smaller funds get pooled, and then we invest those into markets in a way that's aligned with mission. So the entire investment strategy is 100% mission aligned. So it's how do we create a more sustainable, more equitable, more connected community where people are thriving. And so we're investing in things in markets to advance that kind of a mission. And then there's a chunk of the funds we actually invest locally with charities where we make loans as part of our portfolio to charities who are doing affordable housing, or we've done like windmill micro lending or something like places like that, where community land trusts or community bonds, a bunch of ways that we can invest those funds to do more good. So we're just trying to make it easy to do more good.
And there's a bunch of these too. Like it's not just
207 of them at last count.
200, and that's Canada or North America?
Canada-wide.
Okay.
It's just Canada.
Yeah.
And we're one of the bigger ones. I mean, there's some that are like, it's in our report. I mean, we're roughly, I don't know, last we looked about 160 something million in assets that we're managing for us and for others. So even some charities in town, we manage their endowments. So when they create an endowment, instead of having them manage it, we can manage it for them for really low cost, and we can then also pool those resources in with our bigger pool. But so I think there's a scale to it. Like we have a team of 12 people that between our finance team and our philanthropy team and our community impact team and our marketing communications folks, like, to do all this kind of work takes some people. But a lot of community foundations are 2 people or volunteer driven, or so there's a lot of very small ones. They're not all massive and huge. So anyway,
what I want to take this back to the trust and connection.
Yeah.
So that a lot of that came out of the most recent Vital Signs report. So can you tell us a little bit about what was in the report,
Sure.
kind of the big findings?
Yeah, I mean, just it's interesting. This isn't to give a little context. Vital Signs is this data platform. It's a community-based data platform that Community Foundations of Canada, an umbrella organization, sort of manages nationally, but each community foundation can decide to do locally. And that can either be a dashboard of a bunch of data across the community or a deep dive into a particular topic. We've decided to use it as a deep dive. So for the last couple times of this, we've done it about affordable housing, because that was our big focus area. It's important. We know it's important. A couple years ago, we started looking at that data, and it was showing that we had this really high in-migration rate, second highest in-migration rate in the country. We also had the second highest out-migration rate in the country. So, and we were still growing quickly. So it was this massive turnover in people, and we were seeing this disconnection between people and their communities and their neighbors. They didn't know as many of their neighbors. And if you were trying to build a donor base, it was getting harder because people were leaving, or a volunteer base, people were leaving. It was just, but then new people were coming in, and that churn, that constant inflow and outflux was causing some stress. So we were thinking about that and realizing that if we were going to grow as a region, because we're going to keep growing, and there's the whole path to 1 million and how we're going to get to 1 million people in the region, and we feel like that's still on its way. If we're building a lot of stuff to accommodate that 1 million population, so a lot of housing and a lot of bike lanes and a lot of power grids and sewer lines and all this physical infrastructure that we need for 1 million people. And we were trying to figure out, like, what if we just build the physical stuff and we don't build opportunities for people to connect with each other as we're growing, we're going to just be bigger. We're not going to be a better place. And I have nothing against Mississauga, but I don't want to be Mississauga West. I think there's something about being a unique place, maintaining this place's quirky character and this kind of interesting constellation of smaller places, but we're still going to grow. So we were figuring out that there was a role for us to play in advocating for a system of social infrastructure that sits next to or on top of the physical infrastructure. So trying to figure out what kinds of places can we be developing or activating that enable people to make meaningful connections. What kinds of shared experiences can people have to get people to have connections with each other? And then what kinds of like shared platforms and resources and tools could people use across the community? Again, build connection, build trust. So I tell you all that to say that was it's about 2 years into that process of thinking about what kinds of investments can we make. At some point, we're like, it'd be really nice to know what the status of things are now. Like, how are we doing on social infrastructure? What's the state of the world or the state of this community on where we are with social infrastructure? So this year's Vital Signs report, this is a roundabout way of getting there, but this year's Vital Signs report was really a deep dive into the region's social infrastructure. So I think there was some big things that came out of that, which were surprising. But I think if you sort of tune into some stuff, you probably knew some of it. So one piece was, for the last decade, we've been growing. We've been growing really, really fast, right?
Yeah. It's crazy fast.
Yeah. Like 33% in the last decade. Like, it's insane growth. Like, we're growing twice as fast as Canada, which is is the fastest growing in the OECD. So there's this like incredible fast growth, but we've also been, as we've been growing, the population's also been changing, and it's been changing fast. So we've probably undergone one of the most profound demographic shifts of any region in the country. The growth that we've seen, this massive 33% growth, by far has been dominated by younger populations, so under the age of 30, and then also immigrants. So immigration and young people have dominated the growth trajectories in this community, such that we're now the youngest metropolitan area in the country. Our median age is 5 years younger than the national median age. So we've gotten a lot younger as a community, and we've gotten a lot more diverse. We doubled the size of our racialized population. We're now about 230,000 folks or so, racialized folks in the region. So
it's at 750?
About 750, yeah, something like that. So it's gotten much bigger. So this rapid growth and this rapid change has obviously created stresses and created pressures and created some tensions and things. So that's the other piece that we were looking at. How does this impact people's feeling of belonging and feeling of well-being and life satisfaction in this region? So I guess on a good news, we're growing and we're attracting population, which is great, because I've been in places where population doesn't grow and it's a tough place to be. But as a result of that growth and that change and those stresses, the percentage of people who report having a high sense of belonging here has dropped. People who say they have a high life satisfaction has dropped. We're below the national averages on both of those by 5 or 6 or 7 points. So it's, I think there's an opportunity there in a couple ways, because that growth trajectory in a lot of ways looks like it's slowing or pausing or leveling off for a while. I don't know if it's going to be forever. Who knows? Yeah. I doubt it will be. I think the idea is it's still going to keep growing, but there's this time for us to sort of catch our breath a little bit and say, like, okay, we've grown really quickly over the last decade. We've built a lot of stuff. What do we need to catch up to actually build more of that connection and trust? So the rest of the report starts talking about what kinds of infrastructure do we have? What could we keep? What is pretty strong that we could be celebrating and leveraging? What are some things that are fragile, that are still there, but they're fragile? And what are some things that we need to build? And there's kind of examples sprinkled throughout the report of those kinds of things. So it's an interesting project to put together.
As you were talking, the thing that I was thinking about, so you moved here 3 years ago.
Yep.
You moved back here
3 years ago.
3 years
Really?
ago.
Yeah.
Right. So from your perspective, Sarah, so social infrastructure is, I think it's the kind of layer that we never think about until it's missing, or we start talking about the things that are missing. As someone who's moved back here, you're building a career, right? Are there things that you've noticed that you're like, oh, I wish we had like X, or there's, and that could be everything from, social infrastructure is, it's media, it's events, it is community, right? It's anything.
Yeah. I mean, the way we frame it, and this is, I'd be curious to hear how you're doing it, because I think part of moving to a new place, it's tough because you just like, where are my people? Like, I want to feel like I'm part of something, and I don't know exactly even where to start. Right. So I think that's where we've been looking at how to use this notion of what kind of spaces are we creating, and what kind of experiences, and what kind of platforms, and how many of those are readily available, and how do we share those with a population that's constantly changing, because we're not the only ones who have moved here in the last 3 years. So, yeah.
Did I ever tell you my finding? Because I moved here 21 years ago now. My Find My People was, I went onto UW, the internet was still around 21 years ago. It had been invented. And I went onto UW and Laurier's student directory, and I looked for my last name. It's a random last name, Irish one. And there's 2 at Waterloo. I wrote them both, and I'm like, hey, I'm just moved to Canada. Don't know anybody, whatever. Small world. Okay. Who knows? Maybe we're related. One wrote me back, and she's like, come out with me and my friends. And we went to Loose Change Louie's, which you don't.
My parents talk about it all the time.
Loose Change Louie's. And you know what? And she introduced me a bunch of people, and then I met a bunch of people. But it's like, at the time, that was the social infrastructure was.
It is not a dumb idea, because I think I told you this too. A few weeks ago, I basically thought about it, and I realized I knew 5 other Erics. Only 5, but I knew 5 other Erics. And I didn't think they knew each other. So I basically invited them all to lunch together, not telling them why they were coming together. And I'm like, just trust me. It's going to be me, you, and 4 other people. I can't tell you why we're all coming together. You're just going to have to trust me, but we'll all have something in common. I promise you. And they all showed up. And I came in last intentionally. I waited outside to watch when they all came in. And they sort of all introduced themselves to each other. And we came in, and we basically had a lunch of 6 Erics. It was ridiculous. And we are like, we have this little now club of Erics. Evidently, we're not allowed to invite Eric spelled with a K. Sorry. We're not allowed to invite Ericas. It has to be a pure Eric. So we'll see.
Because there's the Jeff one, but they actually let
Jeff's would be like a whole universe of.
But they let in the GEOFF. They let those in.
You did like do with the odd or something.
No offense.
There's like
like spelled weird, but
yeah. So but it was like, how do you find community? Like, what are those things that enable you to find a connection with people? And sometimes it's as silly as, not silly, but sometimes it's as just accidental as, okay, you happen to be named something.
Yeah. How do you find community? I'm interested in this.
Okay. Well, to be honest, like when I moved back here, it was a struggle, because like I went from university, all these people that I was connected to, and I knew from university, we all had that shared experience. And then I came back here, and I didn't really hang out with anyone from high school or just from growing up anymore. So trying to figure out that community was kind of my big thing for the first year that I moved back here. So I really just like got involved in like things in the community. Like I would go to like random Pilates classes at the rec center, or I started doing volleyball with one of my work friends. And then we happened somehow to also be placed on a team with another person from the office. And then we became friends all together. And then they brought their friends. And it was just like this big, like,
awesome.
It's those little sparks,
work-based spark connection.
Yeah. So there are these interesting about talking about from university and then transitioning up.
Yeah.
When we looked at the data in the report, it was interesting that we saw some variations across the region by geography on like a sense of belonging. Right? There's certain parts of the region, some of it tracks to income, but generally some variations across the region. More pronounced, though, were differences by age. So those who are over the age of 65 in this region, 75% of them say that they have a strong sense of belonging here. If you look at those who are under the age of 30, only 36% of people say they have a strong sense of belonging. Yeah. So it's dramatic difference. And some of this is this transition from a very structured, you go to high school or you go through university, it's just like you have a routine and you see people regularly. There's some data that says that it takes 3 times to talk to somebody or to be with somebody before you even know if they're friend worthy. I mean, it's like, and it takes hours, like 100+ hours to build a friendship with somebody. So it's this a massive amount of time. And if you don't have that regular occurrence with people, it's hard to do that. So it goes back to these spaces too that we're trying to build. About if we're trying to build more shared spaces for people to come together, and these shared experiences and these shared platforms, part of that is frequency. We want people to be able to do this stuff frequently, so you build the relationships over time. Work relationships are an easy way of doing that too. It got weird because of work from home stuff, and you don't have that regularity of being in the same space with people. But this notion of frequency, we're trying to think of like the difference between a festival. Festivals are great. Get you out of the house. You could be among people. There's all kinds of things, experiences and shared experiences in particular, because you have a lot of people seeing and experiencing the same thing. But it's a little different between that and, let's say, I don't know, a community garden or a curling club or whatever it is. But something that you're doing regularly.
A repetitive schedule.
Some repetitive schedule that is dependable, that you know there's going to be a certain number of people there. Just this regularity to it is so valuable. And we're trying to find, like, are there other examples of those kinds of things that you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be complicated, it doesn't have to be huge. It just being part of some regular club, association, something. There's some data that like 60%, it was 58% of people across this country do not belong to any community association or social club. So almost 60% of people don't belong to any of it.
I hear that from people at the Rotary, right? Because it's harder to get the next generation of Rotarians.
So when we're diversifying population, is a club like Rotarians, or, I mean, like, when we're starting to think about, we have a younger population than we've ever had, and we have a more diverse population we've ever had. So the ways that we've traditionally gotten people together and built those networks are all seeing declines. We look at the use of rec centers, the use of community centers, the use of libraries, the use of parks, the use of arts and culture facilities. A lot of those are facing stresses that have either they all took a dive during COVID.
Yeah.
Some of them have come back, but none of them are beyond COVID levels, and they were already on a decline before COVID. So I think we're trying to figure out too is like, how do we make those types of resources, those types of assets, because we're investing in them. How do we help them become more compelling, more relevant to a very different type of population?
You talked about the drop in sense of belonging. Other stats on this idea of a loneliness epidemic.
Right.
I was talking to Jim Moss. We've met Jim Moss, and Jim was talking about it in terms of not so much as a loneliness epidemic, but a laziness epidemic, and that it's too easy to stay at home.
100%.
And it's a combination of streaming, social media,
Did he talk
food delivery.
There's a great article. It was it was back in February. It was in the Atlantic magazine called the Antisocial Century. It's a long form article. It's behind a paywall, so you have to find some sneaky way to get to it. But it really talks about that this movement towards being antisocial, or maybe it's lazy, but it's become so much easier. It's become so much easier to stay home. So to get people out is becoming. It has been harder. Now we're seeing some pendulum swings. We're seeing a lot of. I don't know if it's anecdotal or if it's just the streams. It's the algorithm that's popping up on my streams. But you start seeing some of these these unplugging events and the sort of the forced analog activity, and it just that you're seeing more and more of that. You're seeing a decline in some of the online dating apps. You start seeing some decline in market share on those. So I think there's some movement back wanting human connection. We did last summer, we did about 54 different conversations that had 1,300 different people in the region talking about sort of social infrastructure and stuff. And by far the biggest comment coming out of that was, we want more of this. Now, may have been a little self-selected and maybe a little biased because those are the people who came to the conversations. But there was a desire for more connection. People were a little, people were struggling a little bit on how to do it. So I think there's some really interesting examples of how to do these things that don't have to be, you don't have to be a hero, you don't have to be a martyr about it. You don't have to like quit your job to do this stuff. Some of these are very small things you can do. Not to like be constantly going back to the report, but I'm going to talk about the report. At the end of the report, there's like it's page 58 to 70. There's like pages and pages and pages of examples of things that we're doing already here, that this community already has, that are really interesting events, that are really interesting places, that are really interesting facilities, different platforms that enable people to connect with each other. An easy one that we see all the time is like all these neighborhood grants, like the city, all the cities have these neighborhood grants. Love My Hood in Kitchener, the neighborhood grants in Waterloo, the neighborhood association, neighborhood organizations in Cambridge have these things. So it's like there are these opportunities for people to have block parties, have parades down the street, have just whatever it is. Just the idea of connecting with neighbors is a really easy first step. Or at least just meeting one neighbor, so you have at least somebody you can call in case of an emergency. That's a big first step that a vast number of people don't even know a neighbor. So if we can just start with that, like just get to know a neighbor, just so they can pick up the packages that drop in front of your door and you're not going to be able to pick them up.
Oh yeah, that's the big one.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you trust to do that? That was the funniest thing when I first moved here. That was our symbol. That was our sign with my wife and I. How we knew that we were okay was that we were a half hour out of town and got a notice that we had 3 packages delivered, and we had to figure out, was there somebody within walking distance that we knew yet that we trusted to go and pick up packages for us. And there were 3 people, and they had like this Hunger Games thing where they all rushed to try to like get the packages first. But it was nice to know that you have some people that you can call on if you need them, and they can call on you, and you see them on the street when you're walking around, and makes life richer, makes life more entertaining, more fun.
Can you tell us more about WRgives and what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the report, there was a little bit of a sneak peek of it, but we were realizing that again, there's this: what can I do? I mean, it's when we were investing in affordable housing, and we're like, okay, what can we do? It's like, well, if you don't build housing and you don't want to build an ADU in your backyard, then how do you? We were trying to figure out what people could do to help with social infrastructure. One was we showed all those examples of things people could sign up for. But then there was this other idea that there were some examples in the report, some themes that came out in the report there were things lacking. There were some gaps in service. There's some gaps in geography. So what we ended up trying to do was, could we create just a localized crowdfunding platform? And we're prototyping it through the end of October. To see if we could encourage the community to basically give where they live. And where are there some projects that we could point out that are focused on social infrastructure, that are attainable, that are doable, that are in their backyards, and would people have enthusiasm about supporting those? So between the end of September and the end of October, we have this platform up at WRgive.ca, and it's just 8 projects that are really focused on social infrastructure. Some of them are charities, and you get a charitable receipt. Some of them aren't charities, and you don't. But we were thinking about this, that people don't give to GoFundMe pages expecting a charitable receipt. No. They just do it because there's a passion for the project and there's a passion for the idea. So we wanted to test that out within the charitable space to say, like, okay, do people care if it's charity or not? So about of the 8 projects, I think 5 of them are charitable and 3 of them aren't. They're still doing work in community that you just wouldn't get a receipt for. But anyway, they're really simple projects. You can go on there, you can get the updates on what they're doing, and do something. We're trying to figure out again how to make it easier to do more good. Here's 8 ways to do more good, and support them all. Support one of them, whatever does something for you. But it was a test to see, like, does the community want, or would it embrace some kind of a crowdfunding, a localized crowdfunding marketplace for more civic ideas? There's always the platforms for business ideas and for things like that. But if it was more civic stuff and it was local by place, because I think we've been realizing that there's something. Community foundations are based on the premise that place matters, that place is important, that where you are, you want people to care about that. You want people to believe in the future of that place and feel like they have a part of the future of that place. So this was a way of us to try out yet another method of making it easier to do more good.
And KPL is one of them.
KPL is one of them. Crowshowed Lodge is one of them.
Technically, I am.
Rhythm. Yep. There is
newsletter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not me personally.
Not you personally. Yeah, I mean,
if anyone's welcome to fund me, it's fine.
Yeah, Lang's
That's
in
OnlyFans.
Cambridge is
It's
doing a youth hub in North Dumfries. There's really interesting mix of projects. Textile is another one.
Oh yeah, that's all.
Who are doing really interesting work. I mean, just so we're trying to figure out how do we create these opportunities to appeal to both these demographic changes that we're facing, the geographic diversity of folks that we have here, and some of the needs that we saw come out of that report. So this is an experiment like anything else we do. Like this town is a place of experiments and a place of piloting things and testing things and trying things and blowing stuff up. So we're gonna try this out. See if it's a piece of the philanthropy puzzle that would be useful here.
It very much is acting like a startup, which we actively promote here at Communitech. So
I really want the Community Foundation to be having more of a mentality of experimentation and entrepreneurialism. So this is again our first one of our first attempts at trying something a little different.
For people listening, if they want to get involved, and whether that, I mean, starting a fund or contributing to a fund is obviously one way. What are some other ways that people can get involved with the Community Foundation?
Well, I think one is, easy things, follow our socials or sign up for our newsletter, that kind of stuff. That's easy because that's the primary way we get the word out, because there's a lot of talk in the community, a lot of communication in the community. All the charities that we support are always putting communications out, so we don't want to overwhelm them. So I think, tune into what we're talking about. That's one piece. WRgive is one of them. Take a look at that. It closes the 29th of October, so it's a time limited piece there. We also worked with Gambit Technologies to build an AI tool called GatherWR, to see if we could use technology to help and make it easier to find places to gather. So if you need a place to have 15 people for a birthday party, or you want to have a neighborhood meeting, that you can use this tool, GatherWR, and it's out there. We're testing that now too. It's can it help you find places that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise? So that's something
critical,
we're trying.
You don't really know the number of spaces that we have in town to hold a gathering or to hold a meeting or to do a, whatever.
Yeah, and it's helpful because do you want to have food? Does it have to be along a bus line? Do you want to be outdoors? Does it have to be free? Can you pay a little bit? All these in the conversational way, like any of the chatbots would be, it's a tool to really try to get more people aware of the difference of the different assets that we have in the community. I think the other look at the vital signs report. I think there's some really interesting data in there that can be used for some experimentation. We're working with Civic Tech WR to look at some projects around using some of that data. So if anybody has ideas on ways to make a difference in this social infrastructure space, we're fascinated by working with them to hear what ideas are out there. Or it could be just think about the idea of maybe even setting up a fund for you or your company as you grow. Because I think there's something about investing in the future of this place that is contagious. If you do it, then others will do it, and others will do it, and others will do it. So it's
it very much is be the change you want to see in the world.
You should write that down.
Isn't that great?
That sounds good. You should write that down.
I don't know who said that.
I don't know. I think you said it for the first time.
No, I stole that from someone. But it's true. Anyways, it's very true. Well, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
On the show. We'll have everything you mentioned, links and everything in the show notes. As always, if you have questions about how Communitech can help your company start, grow, and succeed, and feel like you belong, you can visit communitech.ca, check out events. Events are a great way to get involved in the tech community. There's events at Communitech and the Accelerator Center and Den 1880 and Catalyst Commons and Workhouse. Am I leaving anyone out? I said Accelerator Center.
Yeah.
Velocity.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Builders Club.
Yep.
I
don't know.
So many.
So bad.
I'm going to go with that's everybody.
Well, there's the SDG Idea Factory.
SDG Idea Factory.
There you go.
There's Greenhouse up at the University of Waterloo.
Yeah.
There's some places to build things here, aren't there?
There is never a lack of things to do in Waterloo region.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Thank you again for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.